Hello there, students. This is Mr. S, and today we will be making our very own instrument. The instrument we will be making today is the pan flute. The pan flute is one of the oldest instruments that's been ever recorded in mankind, and what I'm going to show you to do is how to make your very own at home. So I'm going to put mine to the side right here. Now you're going to really need about 5 materials to put this together, okay? The first one being, of course, this one right here, which is the ruler. Which we're going to use to measure out these. These are just regular straws you can find at different stores. The ones I'm using right here are actually really big, thick straws. You can find ones that are a bit smaller, but for me, I really like these big ones because you can get a better sound out of them. So you're going to need about 5 of those. They can be any color. I just chose a bunch of different ones. Next, you're going to want to get some kind of marker. This is a permanent marker, but you can always also use one like this washable marker. This is going to help us in marking off our straws for cutting, which we'll, of course, need a pair of scissors, right? We're going to use our pair of scissors to cut our straws with. And then finally, some tape, which I'll go into later on how we're going to use that. Okay, so let's hop right into it. I'm going to put some of the stuff to the side. So first, before we start doing anything, the way we're going to make this instrument, you'll notice on the one I made, not all the straws are the exact same length, right? Each one of these is a different length, and it goes from obviously left side biggest to smallest. So we're going to cut each one of these at a different length, okay? So I'm going to start, in this case, with my orange straw. Again, it doesn't matter what color it is. The only thing I ask is that you maybe get a big one, right? Get a bigger straw, and you'll get a bigger sound, okay? Let's talk about our ruler really quick. So I'm sure y'all have all used rulers for quite some time now, but it's really important that we get these measurements correct. Okay, these measurements are going to help give us the exact sound that we get. You know, depending on how we cut our straw, it will give us a different pitch. Right? We talked about pitch. It'll give us a different note pitch. So if we want to get roughly the ones we want, we're going to need to cut it to the exact length. Okay, so the very first straw, we're not going to cut actually too much. If we go over to the inches side, which is the one with the bigger numbers, right? It's the bigger numbers right here. You're going to want to put it all the way up to that very first line. And we're going to want to mark it at about, let me check my notes here. We're going to want to mark it at about 6 inches and a quarter, right? When I say a quarter, right, if we look at the ruler, and this might not come off on the camera perfectly, but if we look over here on the camera, we have, of course, our big numbers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, that's our biggest number. And then if we go just over to the second one, this very second biggest line right here, that is a quarter, right? You got 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters. Oh, and we're back at 7. We're gonna want 6 and a quarter, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 of those lines. Okay. So let me put my straw on my ruler. I'm going to go all the way to 6 inches, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 of those little lines, and I'm going to mark my straw for cutting. Okay, so now I got the straw marked off. I'm going to get my pair of scissors right here, and I am going to cut it right at about the line. You might want to cut a little bit under the line. And I see that went flying a little bit. You see how I still have a little bit of permanent marker? That's totally fine. Really just want to make sure you have enough of that length of straw. Okay? Now, we're going to do this with all the other straws. We're going to come to a certain length. So this one, of course, is 6 1/4 inches. And to get our sound, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put my thumb on the bottom right here and blow into it. That is our very first note, and that's going to be C. Okay, so we got our first straw. Let's move on to our next straw. We're going from C, D, E, F, G will be our highest note. So I'm going to move. Let's go to this yellow straw now. Okay, now for the yellow straw, and I'll put this on the screen for y'all to see. We're going to, of course, cut shorter. Oh, and I'm sorry, guys, I forgot to mention this. That piece that you cut off for the straw, save that to the side, because we're going to wind up using that later for the rest of the pan flute. Okay, so I'm just going to put it off here to the side. All right, so for straw number 2, which is our D note, you're going to want to go shorter. We're going to go up to 5 inches and a half. Okay, so 5 1/2 inches, the halfway between being 5 and 6. We see that? So I'm going to mark that off. Very cool. And I'm going to cut that off as well. And be careful when you're cutting these guys, because they do have a tendency to want to fly off on you. Okay, see, I avoided that happening. Okay, so I'm going to set that straw off to the side, along with the piece I cut off. Now we're moving on to the next straw. This one isn't going to be a lot shorter. This one's going to now be 5 inches exactly. Okay, 5 inches exactly. So I'm going to mark it. Okay, that's about 5 inches, more or less. Okay. And let me cut that one. Ooh, that one went flying. I'll go pick it up in just a second. Okay. Make sure I got all my line up right now. Okay, now here's our 4th straw. Now for the 4th straw, which if I'm correct, this is our 4th straw. This is going to be our F note. This one is going to be another different measurement. We're going to get shorter. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, and then we're going to go 3/4. Okay. Now, if you don't know what 3/4 means, it's going to look something like this. If I'm over here on the 4, all right, let me show you my marker. If I'm going 4, I'm going to go 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. See that little line? I'll even mark it off on my ruler. Do you see that line that's right before the 5? Right, the 3/4 mark? That's where you're going to cut it, right before the 5. If you do it at the 5, or if you do it, a little bit under, you're not going to get really the note you want. So we're going to do it right about there. And now that line's permanently marked, so I can never change it. So let me get my marker. We're going to do it off. Cut it right there. Okay. Again, I said this earlier, guys. Having a little marker or something to mark it off, it's just gonna make it so much easier to cut it exactly where you want it. If you don't, it might be a little off, and you're not gonna get the pitch you want. Okay. Again, I'm gonna put this to the side, and then finally, this is gonna be our last one. It's gonna be our G. And if you're noticing, the shorter the tube, the higher the pitch is going, okay? So if I were to play my biggest tube right now, my biggest straw, cover it with my thumb. Okay. Now my shortest one. And it goes up higher in pitch, right? So the shorter the tube, the higher the pitch. Okay, so let's do this last one. This one, for the G, gosh, you know what? I need to double check my measurement here. I had it measured out. Let's see. Let me look at my other one I made. Okay, so we have this guy at about, gosh, they're almost 4. I think this one's exactly 4 inches. Yeah. Okay, so this one's 4 inches, right down, smack down the middle, guys. Okay, 4 inches for this one. Should make it a little bit easier. Okay, so let me cut it. I'm being real careful when I cut it, because then I have to go pick up another straw, right? We don't want that. Okay, and here's the 4-inch tube. Let me check the note. So that should be my G. Let me hear that G. Yeah, that's pretty close. All right, so now we have the straws we cut, and then the little bits and pieces that we have off to the side. Okay, so we're gonna put away the ruler now. We don't need it, not yet. We're gonna use it one more time, but we don't need it right now. What we're gonna do now, this is where it gets a little tricky. We're bringing in our tape. Now, if you heard me saying this earlier, when we were putting together these straws, if I blow into it without covering the bottom, you won't really get a sound. I'm gonna put it on. Me playing, you might not hear it. Okay, if all you hear is air, that's because this bottom part of the straw that I'm not blowing into, right? Because I don't have something blocking the air, it's not going to give me the sound. Look what happens when I actually block the bottom of it. See that? I can get a pitch out of it. So what we're going to need to do for all of these straws is that we're going to have to block off that bottom one, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch the bottom of it, right? The part of the straw you're not blowing into with my fingers. And then I'm going to actually get a piece of Scotch tape. Now you can use any tape, obviously, but I'm using Scotch. And I'm going to put it like this. And I'm going to want to get this really nice and flat. The big thing, guys, with this is if you don't have it flat, air is going to come out the bottom of it, and then you're not going to get a sound, okay? So you need to really push it down. Use the edge of your finger. And if you can see that, you know what? I can even zoom in a little bit so we can see that a little better. I'm going to push down with my finger while I have this tape go over it, okay? Again, you're pushing down really hard on it so it really have no openings. Okay, so if you notice, now it's like an edge, right? Do we see how it's nice and flat? Now I'm gonna add a little more tape just to really help make sure there's no air escaping. If there's air escaping through the bottom, you're not gonna really get that sound. Once again, you're not gonna get that pitch to come out. And even when you do this, sometimes if you're not careful, you know, you're not gonna get your pitch to come out, and you know, you might have to re-tape it. Let's see how this guy came out. Ooh, let me try that again. Again, sometimes it's kind of tricky getting the exact one you want. See, there we go, and I got a little bit of a pitch coming out. Ooh, let me grab my straw here. See, there we go. So now we have that pitch coming out with the tape. So I'm gonna do the same thing to all these other straws here. Again, if you want to double tape them, that's a kind of a good way of making sure that you're really sealing off that bottom one. Something you can go and check out online also. People do different ways of closing these guys off. So it's up to you how you want to kind of do it. I just think tapes is so much safer. You're not going to really, you know, I've seen people use all kinds of stuff and so it's not as safe, and I think I like this more. Let's see how my yellow one came out. Try again. Okay, cool. We got a C coming out of that one. We're going to try to go a little quicker here, guys. I know the video is getting a little long, so we're going to try to speed up a little bit. Again, I'm just trying to make sure that these are sealed off nice and neat. If they're not really blocked off, you're not going to get that sound. I'm telling you, you're not going to get that sound. Okay, let's hear this one. This should be your E note. Okay, there's E. Let's knock out these last two, and we can move on to the next part. And the next part's gonna be really fun, guys. Okay, I'm gonna add again my second piece of tape. You might notice I have like a lot of excess tape going on here, which you can just do, you can trim that just a little bit. You just want to make sure though that you don't cut it so much that it opens up the straw, right? You still want to be able to get a nice tone out of it. Let me see. Yeah, very good. I like that. Okay, last one. It's our last one here. And this one, I'm going to really flatten this one out. So you know what, let me try bending it. Let's see how the bending does. I haven't tried this yet. Ooh. Alright, there's that last one. I'm going to add that little last piece of tape to kind of secure it one more time. Cut off a little bit of excess. In fact, I'm gonna do that. If you give me a second, I'm gonna do that with the rest of mine too. I don't want too much extra tape. Just kind of, it doesn't look as nice, you know, when you have that extra tape. Okay, let's add this in. Okay, so now we have all of our straws. What we're gonna wanna make sure and do is that we go from, you see, the biggest one to the smallest one. Okay, right there, biggest to smallest. And, okay, now, give me just a second. I went to go pick up that straw that we dropped a second ago. Okay, so now, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna take the smallest piece that we cut off from our straws. We're gonna we don't need that. We're gonna take our 4 biggest leftover straws. And what we're gonna do with those is that we're gonna put them in between each one of our straws. And you're probably wondering, well, why do we have to do that? Why can't I just tape it as is? Part of it is that, you know, if you have these right next to each other and you're trying to blow into them, you know, sometimes you might accidentally hit a different note than what you're trying to go for, or you might be playing more than one. So in this case, right? We want to make it so we don't have that issue. And also, honestly, I think it looks cooler to have those spaces. So let's kind of separate them out, and let me make sure I got them all facing the correct way too. Let's see here. Okay. I want you to kind of get the biggest ones, and you're going to want to space them out like so. So there's little dividers in between each one of the tubes, or the straws rather. Okay, so you see we have the 5 bigger straws and 4 smaller ones. Let's use our ruler to kind of straighten them all out. So the end that we're going to be blowing into, right? That's where we play all of our notes. Okay, we're going to kind of do it like this. And let's see if I can zoom in. I'd like to fully zoom in. Okay, so from what you can do here is that we're going to get our tape. And you got to be very careful about this part, guys. Let me do this. You're going to get your tape. And you're going to, let me get a longer piece of tape. Make sure you get a long enough piece of tape. And you're going to make it go across all of your straws. Try to be very careful as you put it down. Okay, make sure it catches them all. Okay, let's flip it over. Okay, now we're going to tape the other side and make sure it's secure. Nice and tight, like so. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna add another one actually. If y'all wanna make it really secure, you can add a little bit more tape. I like doing this just to kind of give it that extra security, you know, keep it nice and breaking on you, okay? A little more tape on this side. Okay. So you would think, okay, that's it. That is our pan flute. Now, what I'm going to do next is we're going to go one little extra step further. If you can, and I really do encourage this, guys, head over to, if you have anything, in this case, I have like some colorful tape. You can use this, you know, just to kind of add a little bit of decoration to it. Nothing too fancy, but I think it just makes it look nicer, right? It makes it feel not only like it's an instrument, but it's an instrument you made, right? It gives you a little bit of ownership to it. So I'm going to add that like so. And I'm going to add just another one. Let's add another one to kind of really give it that look. Okay, go around it. Break off this tape. Okay. And there you have it, folks. There is your pan flute. Again, you're going to want to blow into the bit larger ones to get your sounds. Let's see if we can get some decent sounds out of this. Yeah, you can blow into it and get that sound. Oop. Okay, you can mess around with getting the notes out. But here is your pan flute, guys. You can play around with it. I can't wait for you to make your own. And again, really, the only materials you really need for all of this is a ruler, which y'all should all have, a marker of some sort. Any 5 straws will do. If you could find any plastic 5 straws, that's fine. Some tape, and of course you have some scissors. I will tell you this: when it comes to the ruler, I gave you some specific measurements. But if for some reason you just don't have a ruler next to you, I think it's perfectly fine to kind of cut them any way you see fit. Just make sure that you have 5 different lengths, okay? Make sure that you have one that gets the largest, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, because then you get different sounds, right? Remember, shorter the tube, the higher the pitch. And adding these little spacers is also kind of optional. I just think it looks better, and it makes it easier for you to play, really. And of course with the tape. Okay, folks, I can't wait to see what you turn out. I hope you have a very nice day, and until then, I'll see you next time. Take care.